Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone in today's class for the first intermediate grade. Our textbook is Super Gold 2 and today we will cover Let's Celebrate Reading. This lesson will be presented by me, teacher Mazen Harbi, and the sign language by Mr. Fawaz Al-Agil. So let's begin. Our objectives in today's lesson, we hope that at the end of this lesson, you will be able to read about Eid celebrations and answer questions about the text. Before we do this, let's make a quick revision on our last lesson. Last lesson, we had a conversation, and we have read a conversation between Amr and Saeed, where they talked about the pizza restaurant, and also they talk about planning a graduation party. So we have read this conversation, and we have also know what was Said inviting Amr for, to join to play or to play games, because he has two consoles, and also they will order lots of pizza. And also we had practiced your turn when I said that imagine that you're going to invite someone to a graduation party, maybe a friend or family member or a classmate, and you need to construct or complete this conversation with the information or the appropriate terms that we should use here. And also we ended our lesson with about you question when I said that imagine, let's talk about graduation. Imagine that you're planning graduation first. What do you usually do for a graduation, and what are you going to do for your own graduation, and also what is your favorite holiday and how do you celebrate it? So we have talked about a lot of celebrations and graduations and your preferences as well. So now let's move on. I would like you to answer this question before we start our lesson. The question is, what do you know about traditional Eid practices in other Arab countries? So think of your own country, the celebrations you may have in your own country, and now think of the other Arab countries. For example, countries like Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait. So these countries usually at each year they celebrate Eid, Eid al-Fitr or Eid al-Adha. So what kind of practices? What kind of practices? What kind of activities that these people in these countries usually do? Do they have the same practices or the same activities as you have here? For example, let me talk about the practices that I believe they are existed here in Saudi Arabia. We pray at the beginning of Al-Eid. We go to pray for Al-Eid prayer, and then we gather at our grandfather's house, and we meet relatives and we meet cousins, and then at night we have a big dinner where all the family members gather together, and we celebrate Eid, and we wear our finest clothes with the new shoes and everything that is brand new. So what about the Arab countries? Do they have the same practices or the same celebrations as we have here? Try to think of it. You can even do more research about this by using the internet and search about other Arab countries' celebrations. Now, before we begin, I would like you please to open your books on page 53. Open your books on page 53. On page 53, we do have a text, that text called Eid celebrations. What do you think that we will read of this text? Maybe from the title, we would read about Eid, we would read about different celebrations that people usually have when it comes, or when the time of Eid comes. So what we need to do now is that I'm going to read this text twice, as usual. The first time you only listen for listening. You don't have to elicit anything. For the second time while I read, then listen for a specific information, and you can also underline any difficult word that you may face. So let's begin reading on page 53. So On page 53, Eid celebrations. Eid al-Fitr is a Muslim holiday that marks the end of Ramadan. It is the most widely celebrated holiday in the Islamic calendar. The day begins with a light snack, usually dates, and the Eid prayer. People often decorate their homes and cook festive meals for family and friends. Older members of the family offer money to children. Many store owners offer special Eid gifts to customers to show their generosity. Everyone does their best to be kind and generous to others, especially to those who are in need. At the end of Ramadan, Muslims donate food, such as dates and rice, to the poor. This is called Zakat al-Fitr. In some areas, neighbors place large rugs on the street. Then each family brings a meal to share with their neighbors. Another important celebration is Eid al-Adha. To celebrate Eid al-Adha, Muslims all over the world sacrifice an animal depending on the region. They sacrifice a lamb, a goat, a camel, or a cow. The family shares the meal with friends and donates some to the poor. Families get together for a special meal, visit friends and neighbors, and exchange gifts. So now we have read for the first time this text. Now I'm going to read it again while I follow. So while you read with me, try to follow. And as we said, underline any difficult word that you may face. Eid celebrations. Eid al-Fitr is a Muslim holiday that marks the end of Ramadan. It is the most widely celebrated holiday in the Islamic calendar. The day begins with a light snack, usually dates and the Eid prayer. People often decorate their homes and cook festive meals for family and friends. Older members of the family offer money to children. Many store owners offer special Eid gifts to customers to show their generosity. Everyone does their best to be kind and generous to others, especially to those who are in need. At the end of Ramadan, Muslims donate food such as dates and rice to the poor. This is called Zakat al-Fitr. In some areas, neighbors place large rugs on the street. Then each family brings a meal to share with their neighbors. Another important celebration is Eid al-Adha. To celebrate Eid al-Adha, Muslims all over the world sacrifice an animal depending on the region. They sacrifice a lamb, a goat, a camel, or a cow. The family shares the meal with friends and donates some to the poor. Families get together for a special meal, visit friends and neighbors, and exchange gifts. So here at this text, we have read about Eid celebrations from different parts of the world. So the first paragraph here talked about how Eid al-Fitr day begins. It says here that the day begins with a light snack, usually dates, and also people often decorate their homes and cook festive meals. Festive meals means that meals that only cooked or for celebrations. This is what do you mean by festive meals. And also older members of the family, the seniors usually, they give money to the children. As the second paragraph talked about, that many store owners show their generosity and give gifts to customers. And also that at the end of the Ramadan, to continue this generosity, Muslims donate money or donate food to the poor, maybe such as dates and rice. Not only this, but this is what we call the donation for the poor. We call it zakatul fitr. In some other countries or area, neighbors place large rugs on the street. They place large rugs on the street. So each family brings the meal and they share together as a celebration to eat. The other paragraph, we talked about an important celebration not for Eid al-Fitr but for Eid al-Adha, where Muslims from different parts of the Islamic world, they celebrate or sacrifice an animal. Some of it, maybe in some countries, they sacrifice a lamb, a goat, or a cow. And also family shares the meal with friends and neighbors around them. At the end, families get together, and this is what Eid is all about, where families get together to share a meal and visit friends and exchange gifts. Now, I'm very sure that you have faced some of the difficult words and you would like to know the meaning of. Now, let me show you what the vocabularies I think that you may have and see what are the meanings of these vocabularies. So here I have listed some of the terms or vocabularies that we have read in this text. And what we need to do here we need to try to figure out the meaning of these vocabularies. So for example, find words and expressions with these meanings in the reading. Let's start with the first expression. Widely celebrated holiday. In the text, it is mentioned that Eid al-Fitr is widely celebrated holiday. What do you mean by this? What do you mean by the word widely celebrated? Widely. Very good. Widely means it's celebrated by a large number of people. A large number of people, different people from different parts of the world. This is what do you mean by widely celebrated? And also the second term we have is show their generosity. So what is generosity? When we said that the store owners show their generosity to the customers. So what do you mean exactly by generosity? What do you think? Very good. Generosity means the spirit of giving or sharing freely with no charges. So to give someone for free or to share something to someone for free, this is what we call generosity. And when you do it willingly, you do it because you want to do, and this is why we call it the spirit. It means something that you want to do it. Also, the third term we have here is Muslims donate food. What do you mean by donate food? We said, or we have read in the text, that Muslim, at the end of Ramadan, they donate food. So what do you mean by donating? Very good. Donating, it means to give away in order to help. So donate food, it means that they give food to the poor in order to help them, So here we have three important terms. If you have underlined these terms, then here you go, you have the answers. And if you don't, try to read the text again and try to guess the meaning of the text if you didn't find it here. So we talked about widely. Widely, it means used by a large number of people. Generosity, it means the spirit or giving or sharing freely. And for donating, it means to give away in order to help. Now, here we have a couple of questions, the after reading questions. And what we need to do here is we're going to answer either yes or no questions, and we need to read the statements and see if we agree with the statement, we write yes. If we don't, we write no. So let's read these statements first. Number one, sentence number one says, children offer money to adults. And number two, people show generosity and kindness to others. And number three, people have a light breakfast before the prayer on Eid al-Fitr. And number four, in celebration of Eid al-Adha, families sacrifice an animal and give some of it to those in need. So let's start with the first one. Children offer money to adults. So, having a look at the text in front of you, what do you think of this? Do children offer money to adults? What do you think? Very good. The answer is no. So who actually doing or giving money to adults? Excellent. It's adults themselves. We can read in the text, it says that Muslims donate. Muslims donate food and also money to those in need. Let's start with number two. People show generosity and kindness to others. In Eid, especially in Eid celebrations where people have this spiritual celebration, they usually show their generosity. What do you think? Should we write here yes or no? Very good. The answer is yes. At these blessed times, at these great times, people usually show their kindness and show their generosity. And number three, people have a light breakfast before the prayer on Eid al-Adha. What do you think of this? People usually have a light breakfast. It means that maybe a simple dates or a light snack before the prayer on Eid al-Fitr. Very good. The answer is yes. For Eid al-Fitr, for Eid al-Adha, usually in the beginning or at the dawn of each Eid, we usually start our day by eating a simple or light snacks like few dates, for examples. Number four, in celebration of Eid al-Adha, families sacrifice an animal and give some of it to those in need. So, what do you think of this? Is it true that to celebrate Eid al-Adha, families sacrifice an animal? We have talked about this, and also give some of it to those in need? Very good. The answer here is yes. Yes, people do, especially in Eid al-Adha, they sacrifice an animal, whether be it the goat or a cow or any type or camel, any kind of an animal. And it depends on which parts of the world or which country in the Arab or Islamic world. So here we have the answers of these questions. Now let us move on to the last part we have in our lesson today. The last part here we have today, which is a discussion. What I would like you to do is to choose a holiday and discuss it with a partner. Compare how you celebrate the holiday with your families. So just think of any friend that you know or any classmate and talk about or choose a holiday. Could be Eid al-Fitr holiday, could be Eid al-Adha holiday, could be the national day that we have read in a couple of lessons ago. So just choose a holiday and discuss it and compare the celebration. Discuss it as, for example, we in Eid al-Fitr, we usually start our day by eating light snacks and we go to the Eid prayer and then we'll go to eat festive meals at the grandfather's house. So what about you? And then he would say the practices or the activities that he and his family usually do at Eid or at the times of Eid. So here, when you listen or when you discuss about these practices and these activities, you can then compare how the celebration goes. Maybe, for example, for you, your celebration at Eid is that when you go to see your cousins and your relatives and other family members and you play different games inside of your house. Maybe he has another celebration. maybe he can go and enjoy or join the celebrations of Eid to watch presentations, watch performances. Maybe he has different celebrations or different activities for Al-Eid. So, when you have finished or when you discuss this, try to compare it with your families. So not only you, but also the other the family members can join and talk about Eid. And now we have reached the end of our lesson. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.